BS your way to life.
Hello friends, we're going to talk about the space in between, the dash, the whatever you want to call it, that time and space when you are separated and when he's doing his thing and you're doing your thing, and then in the end of the day, you come back together, whether you worked and he worked, or you were at home and he went to work, or vice versa. We're going to talk about the in-between space and having some compassion for that. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's do a traditional scenario here a little bit. For instance, let's say that your man goes to work, right? So in the morning, you kiss him goodbye off to work. It's a happy send-off, hopefully. And he goes to work and you continue on with your multiple children and all the responsibilities that come with that. Maybe you had a terrible night's sleep because you had a baby that kept you awake. Who knows, right? So he goes to work and you're at home. And then later in the evening, like he comes home from work and you're back together, and all of a sudden, without any warning and without, like, maybe you're hoping, you're like, oh good, he's home, I'm not alone in this battle anymore. But then before you know it, you say something, or maybe he says something, and then before you know it, you're upset at each other. One of you is upset, or both of you are upset at each other, or there's been some sort of miscommunication, or something was said, and it's like, wait a second, what? And and then you're going to bed upset at each other, and maybe in some cases someone's sleeping on the couch or just whatever. It's just the night ended terribly, so you had a rough day and now you're having a rough night. Why does it have to be that way? Well, I'm here to tell you it does not have to be that way, and it should not be that way. I want to tell you something, okay? You're going to have hard days. He's going to have hard days. Sometimes you're going to have hard days together, okay? So your husband could come home and could say something that hurts you, like maybe ask a question just like, why is this out of place? Or why wasn't this done, or something? And you immediately, like, you have, and you in your head, you're thinking, you have no idea, I can talk, no idea the kind of day that I have had, right? No idea. They're coming in having zero clue of, like, the constant spills, the constant glass breaking, the constant food messes, the constant cleanup, the constant pickup of toys and clutter, and stepping on them and tripping on them and almost dying. I know that's dramatic, but for some moms out there, it's like, oh, that's accurate, right? Oh, there's nothing worse than almost slipping and falling straight on your butt with a small little toy, or stepping on a Lego. Oh, the worst. But like all the fights that you have to break up, the running around that you have to do, especially if you have teenagers, like, oh my gosh, there's so much, right? And you're thinking, oh, he's just cozy at work where things are simple. But then we don't really know, right? Maybe he has a hard job, or maybe you know how hard his job is, right? Maybe you have compassion for that. But I'm going to tell you something. When he's away, and or you are away, or you're at home and he's away, there's always that like I can't tell you. So for example, I had a crazy day and I was like going out of my mind, and when he came home I was just like, oh good, and I just started spilling out my guts, and he's still holding his stuff. All of a sudden, like, starts getting upset. I'm like, wait a minute here. I'm coming to you for compassion here. I bombarded him with all this, like, blah. And he hadn't even got to land yet. And come to find, and of course, I'm, like, offended because he's, like, got upset. I'm just like, oh, so I don't matter, and my feelings don't matter, and my hard day doesn't matter. But that's not the case. He needed a minute to land a debrief because he had also had a rough day, and all he could think about coming home was like, good, I can go home, I can put my stuff down, I can land, and I can breathe for a second. He had a lot, he was exhausted, and he worked really late, and I was exhausted. And it could have turned out to be like this whole but instead I immediately recognized, and this is something important for all of us to do, recognize, wait, don't retaliate. Where are they coming from? Let's give them a minute. And just like, and so instead, so when he says, when he's just like, can I land? And I'm like, of course you can. I'm so sorry. And I just, and me apologizing isn't me like, oh yeah, let me just shrink in my little corner. And it's not like that. Okay. It's a matter of loving each other enough to like bite your pride. It's about seeing past your own things. It's called selflessness, right? There's masochism, there's selflessness, right? Those are two different things. Masochists will do things out of fear. They'll basically sacrifice their own happiness to make other people happy. That's a masochist, right? But selflessness sees past the pride, sees past all the things. And that's also meekness, which I've talked about many times too. It's just like, you're like, okay, the world isn't going to end if I don't be able to like let off all my steam right now. So giving them that space, that space. So when you are, so in that moment, I just immediately just like, yes, land, I'm sorry. And then of course now he feels bad because he feels like he's putting me off, and he knows that I need him emotionally, but he doesn't have it. He is not emotionally ready or maybe even physically ready to handle all of my emotions right now. He's not. And that is okay. There's nothing wrong with him. He didn't do anything bad. So there's no reason for me to be upset at him or ridicule him or be like, well, fine, I'm sleeping on the couch or anything like that, or to make his day worse than always. He's hoping to come home to a loving, supporting, understanding wife, and hoping to also spill his beans of the day, right? And so for me, excuse the background noise because I am sitting with my windows down and I have cars passing, so you're welcome. But you both need to, but timing is a thing too, and it's okay to have compassion for one another and understanding. And I just let him know I completely understood, it was okay. And then he was able to tell me like, well, I just had a weird day today and it was really frustrating, and he's just like, I messed up with this client, and then I had a client that was like interesting, and then just like, so his day was rough, and I'm just like, oh. But if I had just decided to just be mad and like, fine, you don't care about me, like, that does nothing. It does nothing. So I waited till he was ready and able to, like, he needed to unload before he can handle my unloading, right? And sometimes we have that. And sometimes you'll have situations where he had a great day, but you had a rough day. And so you wait for him to land, and then you're like, okay, I got to unload. And then I've learned to warn my husband now. I'm just like, it is good to be like, hey, warning, I've got to get this all off my chest. And I'll even tell him specifically, I don't need you to do anything about it. I just need to talk to my friend, right? Because your husband is your friend. And I just need to let it all out. And so they just listen and let it all out and give you a hug, whatever, right? But be specific. It's okay to, it's healthy to be specific of what you're hoping for when you're letting out your frustrations, right? And be understanding. And then also something important as a side note, whenever your spouse is telling you something because they are coming to you as a trusted spouse, friend, companion, to not judge them. Okay, so if they're telling you something like, I screwed up today, I did this, let's not be judgy or have like, let's not make it about us. And what I mean about this is, let's say your husband gets pulled over and gets a ticket, you don't need to make it about you being like, oh my gosh, like, oh, that's a lot of money. Like, no, he's coming to you as in, this really sucked for me. I got a ticket. I didn't mean to. And here it is. Instead of sitting there like, well, you shouldn't speed or whatever, if it was a speeding ticket, or, you should be more careful. Let's not sit there and criticize or tell them what to do. Instead, it's like, oh, that sucks. It happens to all of us. You know what I mean? Like, they already know the part about, like, yeah, if they sped, right, I shouldn't have sped. I should have been more careful. They already feel bad enough. You do not need to add to it. They already know. You don't need to tell them. They already had a mother. Don't be the mom, okay? You don't need to be like, well, honey, because that's like what I would do to my son. Let's say my son got a speeding ticket and he calls like, I got a speeding ticket, Mom, right? He's driving my car. It's on my insurance. Well, I have every right to tell my son. I'm just like, excuse me, I pay the bills here. You do not speed in my cars because that ups my insurance. And guess what? You're going to have to pay me back for it, right? That's a child-parent relationship. And I have every right to say that to my son to teach him what, what's right, what's not. But not my husband. No, he's a grown man. He is a grown man. And I do not say, oh, honey, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, he came to me to tell me the sad news because he needs to tell me. And it sucks, right? And I don't need to make it worse. I made a huge mistake with money. And it was over $100 mistake. And I felt horrible about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I made this mistake. And I had to tell him, of course, because we share the money. The money's ours. It's not mine. It's ours. And it's not his. It's ours. So I sent him his text message explaining, like, I really screwed up. I'm really sorry I did this. And I was about ready to cry. I was just sure, like, I'm just like, if he gets mad, I guess he has a right to be upset. But, like, I needed compassion that day because I was already overwhelmed. And the reason why I made that mistake is because I had too much on my plate. I was overwhelmed. So they just slipped through the cracks. I made the mistake. But you know what? He sent me the sweetest text message because I had already resolved the situation. And he sent me the sweetest text message. He's like, good job, honey. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for resolving that. You do so much for our family. I don't know how you keep it all together. And it was just like, and I just like was so relieved because the last thing I needed was his ridicule and his judgment, even though I had legitimately made a mistake. He understood I'm human. I've got a lot going on, and that's what I need. That's what we need to do for each other. We don't need to ridicule each other. We have hard times happen, right? We make mistakes. My husband is an excellent driver, and he's a master at driving trailers and everything. And for the first time ever, he actually clipped a car, towing a trailer, and he was even surprised that he had done it, but the car was sticking out a little bit and whatever. But like when he called to tell me, I was like, it'll work out. And we've got to realize, like, yes, you can clip a car, you can even get into an accident, but really things aren't that bad. They really aren't. Don't overstress it. And even in those moments when, like, oh my goodness, I'm losing my thoughts here. This is called mother brain, brain fog, all the stuff. But like, our compassion, like, let's say that let's say that, like, I lose my temper or something. Like, we're in a public place and I get really upset over something because maybe somebody like ran over my toe with a cart or something. And then, and my husband and I are shopping or something. And I just, like, lose my mind. And I am not forgiving. And I'm like, you need to watch where you're going. And I'm yelling at the person, right? Because I was in pain. I'm in pain or whatever. And I don't need my husband to sit there like, hey, chill, calm down. I need them to be in my corner, right? But that doesn't mean, like, maybe they're out of line, right? Maybe I'm out of line when I'm yelling at that person who ran over my toe because they really didn't mean to. And maybe it's this poor old lady, and she's just like feels so bad and trying to apologize, but I'm not accepting it. And maybe that's so embarrassing for my husband, right? For your spouse or whatever the situation is. Like, it could be embarrassing when one of us loses our temper in public, right? But it's not our job to be like, you could have acted better, right? They're in pain at that moment or whatever it is. Or maybe they were triggered and they have PTSD. Of course, the stranger to whom, crossed the path isn't going to understand that. But you do, and you can act accordingly. It doesn't mean that you have to, like, agree with what's going on. But you can definitely be like a support and just like, oh, that sucks that your foot ran over, and just like, and validate it in a kind way of just like, hey, yeah, you really look, and like whatever. there's tactful ways to do it, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It'd be helpful, but let's do it at a time because I'm trying to keep this one shorter. But anyway, so it's important that, and if you really want some tactful ways to do it, please reach out to me by all means. You can find me, you can comment on YouTube or comments in Spotify or comments in Instagram, whatever. But you can, or a DM, whatever. But yeah, it's important that we have compassion for there. You know that on a grave there's from 1920 to 2000 and whatever, there on a grave, and there's this little line in between those two numbers from when they were born to when they die, right? Picture that one from between the time when he was at work and you were at home, that little line, what happened with in between that little line, like with the person who died. That line says so much. It's just a line, but what did they do between that date and that date? What did they do with their life? How did they live their life? What does that line tell? What story does it tell? What story does your spouse's line tell and what story does your line tell when you've been away from each other all day and then you come together? What story is there to tell? I know you both have a story, but let's be compassionate when we hear that story between each other. Yes, it would have been nice if my husband said, honey, I'm so sorry you had such a sucky day. Let me put everything down so I can properly listen to you, right? That would have been nice, but we're not always in that. Like, there have been days when my darling sweetheart has come to me and started just telling me the hard part, but I have no emotional capacity to handle this the story he's telling me, and I am not ready for it. I'm in the middle of something chaotic and I am about ready to lose my freaking mind, and it is all I can do to not be like, could you just wait a second, right? Because we assume, like, we're all so stuck in our heads that we're not reading the room. And this is important, is read the room. And yes, you're allowed to be sad, upset, and devastated, right? But it's okay to have, but also we need to have compassion for the other side of the story as well. Hopefully this makes any sense. So like when I need to whine from now on, I'm just like I said before, I warn him. I'm like, hey, I had a rough day. I want to tell you about it. Are you ready to hear it? And he'll either say yes or no. He's like, well, yeah, go follow me while I land or whatever. Or first thing I'll be like, how was your day? And then I let him, that's the opening for him to spill out anything he wants, right? So if I'm going to ask that question, I need to make sure that I'm geared up for it. Even if I've had a rough day and I want to explode too, I say, and then I wait for him to ask, how was your day? And then I let it go, because that's my permission to be like, go for it, right? And even then, when they ask, how's your day? They may not be emotionally ready for it, but they're trying their best to be selfless, to be like, I got to be there for you because you're there for me, right? And anyway, so some tools that I want you to practice is clear, specific communication. So when your spouse comes home, I want you to give them fair warning. I'm like, hey, it's just like, I hope you had a good day. And they say, actually not really, or whatever. Like, all right, I want to hear your day. I had a rough day too, but let's hear yours first. See that kind of language? Or there's the language of like, hey, I had a rough day today, but I want to wait till you're ready to hear. I'm sure you need to land, so do your thing. But I just got to get all of this off my chest, right? Or, how was your day? Let him go out. Okay, well, are you ready to hear mine? Are you ready to hear my day? Or even just ask that, and just so you know, and just say, and you can also be like, hey, I don't need you to resolve anything. I just need you to hear me, and I need to just get it out and feel loved from someone who's not going to be critical or judgmental, right? Be specific. That's beautiful. And sometimes you do need them to do something about it. Say, hey, I have something to tell you, and I actually do need you to do something about this. What I need from you is this. Like, let's say a kid acted out of line, and it's just like, or maybe you don't want them to be too harsh. And like, I need you to not be too upset because I handled it, but I need them to know, the kid to know that you are on my team. So if you could handle like this, be specific, or just say, or leave it to him. If you already, or like all the time, I'm just like, yep, handle this however you feel is needed, right? Just like, hey, here's what happened. I told them I need you to deal with this, right? Be specific. It's good. It's healthy. So anyway, that we're probably gonna end it there. I have no flowery ending for you, but I hope this helps. Like, scenarios in your head, it helps give you clear understanding and gives you more compassion, sympathetic. We need more sympathy with to be more sympathetic towards each other and each other's days. And there may be like maybe your spouse comes and they're telling you like what a rough day they had, and they're telling you their day, and you're thinking to yourself, that sounds like an easy day. And you're thinking this is almost laughable that you think this is hard, right? Look, we are all on our own set of steps, okay? Look, you're good at multitasking. You're good at handling a bunch of things all at the same time. You're good at being patient and not losing your temper really easy in certain situations. You're good at those things, but maybe you're not good at following through, or maybe you're not good at consequences, giving appropriate consequences to your children, or maybe you're not good at, how you word things. Or like, what I'm saying is, it's like, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And like me, I'm terrified of heights. My husband could totally jump off a cliff, right? And then me, terrified of roller coasters. Husband could ride every roller coaster all day long, right? Like, he doesn't understand why roller coasters are so scary and hard for me, or heights, right? And I don't understand how he can handle the heights and some of the crazy roller coasters, okay? I love roller coasters, but not certain ones, okay? Like, and so what's hard for one person may be easier for another person. Like, a man could lift like lots of weights, and those same weights would be hard for me, right? But then being able to work a computer. I'm very good at working a computer, and it's easy for me. But when my husband tries to work a computer, I'm like, just let me do it. Because it is the bane of his existence, and he just gets so frustrated at it. Anyway, so the point is like, what's easy for you is hard for them, and what's easy for them can be hard for you, right? So let's be less critical and judgmental of each other, and understanding like, okay, that's just where you're at. That's okay. You haven't grown strength in that area. That's fine. You're allowed to have it be hard, okay? This is everyone's permission. Your spouse is allowed to have something be hard that you don't think is hard, and vice versa, okay? All right. This 15-minuter that I wanted to be has turned into almost a 25-minuter, so we are going to cut off here, but I hope this helps you. It's been a while since I've podcasted. It's been crazy busy, but that's just the way it is. So see you later. Have a great day. Rock on.